After taking a look at the numbers, it's very clear that Texas A&M OC Colin Klein has been great calling plays for the Aggies.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. On the show today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to run through a little bit why Colin Klein's been so great. We have a ton of stats to run through, some offensive, some defensive. Where do the Aggies stack up compared to the rest of college football? We're going to answer some mailbag questions. Got some, I like to do a longer Friday mailbag during the bye week. We're going to have that. And then we've got some stuff from the Football Power Index. We'll run through all that on today's show. But the first thing that I have noticed when breaking down all of the stats from the NCAA website is Coach Colin Klein has been really good. And I think the thing you got to remember as well, so yes, Coach Klein's been good. Sure, that's great. But what you have to remember on top of that is that while Coach Klein has been really good, there's been a bit of a swinging door at quarterback. That is not easy to do. Connor Rigman plays 2 games. Marcel Reed plays 3 games. And then here comes Connor Rigman back in the game to play again. That's not easy for a play caller to have to keep doing this. And yeah, Wigman and Marcel Reed have some similar skill sets to their game, but some similar aspects and assets in the way they play the game. But for the most part, the way that Marcel Reed, he's a bit better of a runner than Wigman, and Wigman's a bit better of a passer when it comes to accuracy. So there's some differences in the offense, and Coach Klein's had to do that, and I think the numbers have been darn good. So first of all, the thing that stood out to me is the red zone offense. And this is something that we highlighted a lot last year. Jimbo Fisher's team was getting to the red zone, pretty solid amount, but they weren't scoring touchdowns. If you're not scoring touchdowns, who cares? That is just the reality here. You got to score touchdowns. We love Randy. We are a pro Randy Bond podcast here at Locked On Aggies. We love him, but we don't want to see him unless he's kicking an extra point. And that's just the reality here. So you need touchdowns. When you're in the red zone, you need to score touchdowns. This offseason, after Coach Elko brought Colin Klein to Texas A&M, pulled him away from Kansas State to be the OC for the Aggies, the thing that really stood out was at Kansas State last year. Kansas State scored touchdowns. They didn't kick field goals. They were one of the best teams, if not the best teams in all of college football when it came to getting in the red zone and scoring touchdowns. And that was something I was hoping Coach Klein would bring with him to Texas A&M. And the numbers are great. They've been 22 trips to the red zone, and the Aggies have scored 15 touchdowns. I don't know, that's about 68%. I'm really, really happy with those numbers. And I'm happy with them. And in all honesty, I think Coach Klein can be better. Like, I really do. But this stuff matters. This is the difference. I mean, if this number was 54% and it was closer to, 9 touchdowns, whatever it is, that's the difference in winning and losing football games. Maybe not against Missouri because you blew the brakes off them, but in tighter football games, maybe against Arkansas and against Florida, where there were some points where those games were a little bit tighter. That's the difference in winning and losing football games. You have got to score touchdowns in the red zone, and Coach Klein has done a really, really good job of that. Then the Aggies are 9th in college football in rushing, about 232 yards per game. And Le'Veon Moss currently leads the SEC in rushing yards with 609 on the year so far. The rushing attack for this Texas A&M offense has been dominant. Now, I think that you're going to see the passing game open up a little bit more now that Wigman's back. And, hey, the guy that we saw against Missouri is a really, really, really good quarterback. So, yeah, I think you're going to see the passing game open up some in this. I think you're going to see the passing game open up some now that Connor Rigman's back. We talked about Marcel Reed. He's a great quarterback. But there's a few issues when it comes to accuracy. If Conor Rickman does move on to the NFL, it's probably the Marcel Reed show. And once again, he didn't lose. He's been really good. It's just been the fact that he's missed some throws that maybe he should be making. So that's kind of my take there when it comes to Marcel Reed. But he's the future, and he's been really good. But I think for the rest of this year, I think the Aggies, they're sticking with Conor Rickman. He's their guy. If they put him in against, he's the guy, and it's clear why, the way he played against Missouri. But, and I have some more stats to run through, some defensive stuff. But to me, looking through all these stats, comparing Texas A&M to the rest of college football, the number one thing that stood out was Colin Klein's been better than I think we've maybe all even given him credit for. He's been incredible. Top 10 in rushing. I think that you're going to see the passing game. This is still going to be a run-heavy football team. There's no question. But I do think now that Conor Rickman is back and healthy, you are going to see the passing attack for Texas A&M kind of get a little bit closer and get a little bit more, a little bit more even to balance when it comes to the, offensive play for Texas A&M. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out with Coach Klein and Conor Rickman. And do we see more passing? But regardless, even if you do, I just think the passing attack is going to open up things in the running game, and the running game will open up more things in the passing attack. That's my take here. So I've been really impressed with the offense of Coach Klein. Another stat that's been great for Texas A&M is the turnover margin. You have taken the ball away 9 times, and you've only turned the football over 3. That is a winning turnover margin. When you win the turnover margin, you're going to win football games. That's the reality. And, in all honesty, since the beginning, early in the year, the Aggies have done a lot better job of taking care of the football of late. And that's exciting. When you win, once again, the turnover margin, the turnover battle, it is a, boring statistic. It is, no, duh. We want to win the turnover margin. Of course we do. You'd never want to lose it. Yes. And while all that is true, I will add on top of that, you have got to find a way to take the football away, and you got to win it. It's something that's cliche, yes, but at the end of the day, it's cliche, but if you don't win it, you're going to lose football games. That's the reality. You've got to win the turnover battle. And to this point in the season, the Aggies have been really, really good at that. Texas A&M is also 13th in the SEC when it comes to interceptions, which is pretty great to see. You want to see this team pick the ball off, and they've been really good at it so far, and turnovers win football games, to kind of piggyback on what I was just talking about. Then on top of that, you have time of possession, back to kind of an offensive thing here. And, I have been incredibly impressed with, and partially because when you run the football, you're going to hold on to the football. That's just the reality. Right now, the Aggies are 29th in college football, time of possession, about 32 minutes a game. You want to win the time of possession battle. It's just another thing you really want to win football games, especially in an offense like this where you are going to be moving the football on the ground a lot. So that's another number that it's great to see that, hey, you're moving the ball on the ground, and that's making sure you take care of the football. It's keeping your defense fresh. That, to me, is why I'm such a big believer in time of possession, is your defense is able to stay fresh, and those legs are able to keep going for late game situations when you need your defense to make a huge stop to win a football game. They're fresh because your offense has been on the field. That also means that their defense isn't as fresh as your defense. So that can help you win football games late in the season. That especially when you get deeper in the year, that's what I'm saying. This is important now, but it's also very important late in the season. So takeaways from these statistics before we move on here. That was the number one for me. Was I've been really impressed with Colin Klein. These numbers are solid. His offense has been really good. You can't look at these metrics and go, man, it's funny. I think Colin Klein's been great. I do. But looking at the numbers, I kind of sat back and went, wow, he's been really, 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 really good for this team so far. And then you add in, once again, the fact that it's been a swinging door at quarterback. There's been a lot of stuff changing. You got to be impressed and happy with what's happening with Colin Klein if you're a Texas A&M fan. He's a star in the making in this industry. There's no question. And once again, I hate to say it, but I love to say it. because he's going to be great for a few years. But Colin Klein is not going to be at Texas A&M forever because he will be a head football coach in college football very, very soon. We got some mailbag questions to talk about, and then we've got some stuff with the FPI to discuss. We'll have those two conversations coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Z-Biotics. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, let's call a spade a spade. It's football season. Some cold adult beverages are going to be drank this weekend, every weekend. It's football season. And, Z-Biotics is something that I got for all my buddies, and I've been testing it. And once again, we make it our first drink of the night. And when we wake up to watch football on Sunday, you feel a whole heck of a lot better. It makes you feel good. It's something that religiously will use. I think it is something that everyone needs in their home at all times when you're going to be putting down a few alcoholic beverages. Go to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On College at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee if you're unsatisfied for any reason. They'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege and use code lockedoncollege at checkout for 15% off. Also, of course, got to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. Ladies and gentlemen, me and the boys, Debo Samuel, we hit it last night. First touchdown score was a ton of fun over our favorite get-together spot, and won some money with that. If DK Metcalf decided to, or Kenneth Walker decided to not hop and get set, we would have won a lot of money on another parlay, but that's okay. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com to get started. Once again, FanDuel is the official partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. So we got some mailbag questions. And the first one, this is a fun mailbag question. And I really have thoroughly enjoyed this one and thinking about this. And my answer is going to be a little bit boring. Someone asked me, which 2025 recruit am I most excited about? And, pulling up the list of commits this morning and really sitting and thinking about it, I have two answers. My first answer, and this is the boring answer, is the quarterback who's on Longstreet. Listen, it is not hard to get excited about a 5-star quarterback. Who's on Longstreet is an incredibly talented quarterback who's going to be a star for Texas A&M down the road. I feel very, very confident in that. Better plug my computer in, ladies and gentlemen, or else we could be dying here. But Hassan Longstreet is the answer to that question for me. No question. He's the guy that I am the most fired up about. I think he's going to be really good. I'm a believer in him. I think that after the Wigman and Marcel Reed era of Texas A&M football at the quarterback position, he's going to be the next star. And we talk about how when you're building a recruiting class, getting a quarterback early, which Texas A&M did, helps you land receivers and running backs and tight ends. And I don't listen. Mike Elko is not done. I tell you that. There's still receivers to get. There's an edge rusher we just got a crystal ball for. There's a lot of good stuff going on the recruiting trail. And that is something that I think that you're going to really see this team take advantage of. The next thing that excites me about this recruiting class is the corners. We've talked about heading into the season, corners were a question mark. Last season, it was atrocious. you're really happy with what you got and Will the Blanket Lee and some of these guys and, the upside of Des Ricks and some of these other players, some of the young guys on the team as well. But you have an incredibly, incredibly talented room of corners coming in. You got Adonis Curry, 42nd ranked player in the class. You, of course, then have Kobe Sellers, 135th player in the class. Jamar Beal Goins, the 185th player in the class. And then you've got DeJohn Petaway, the 245th player in the class. You are loaded up. You have 4 top 250 corners in this class. You want to talk about, well, we're worried about corner. Is it going to be a problem in the future? No, it ain't, because Coach Elko came in and fixed it. Boom. Easy, lickety split. Really impressed with how he's done that. And he walked onto campus. He addressed an issue. Corner's a problem. Okay, let's nail it in the portal. Let's nail it in the high school recruiting. And he has done just that. So those are the things that I am excited about for this recruiting class. Oh, quick side note. It's not basketball season. I'll give me 30 seconds here on basketball. I will be at Basketball Media Day, SEC Basketball Media Day on Tuesday in Birmingham. So we'll get some good bonus content there, get to talk to some of the players and buzz and hear from some of the other SEC coaches. So we should have some good stuff there that I am thoroughly excited to bring to y'all. So be prepared for that next week. But it's football season, and we're still excited about football because you got a darn good Texas A&M football team right now. But there's a lot of excitement when it comes to the future of this program and basketball with Coach Buzz. So next question is, someone asked me, Andrew, be honest, are you underplaying Mississippi State? What, do you have any concern? And I mean, I'll just tell y'all, I think a lot of people, here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. I have to be who I am on this podcast, and I'm not a jinx guy. I just don't, I have to do my job. I have to be here and talk about sports. That's not something that I can pretend is reality. And so I know there's people say things like that, but Mississippi State is not a good football team. If Texas A&M goes down there and plays an atrociously awful game, could they lose to Mississippi State? Sure, they could. But I think Mississippi State is a very, 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 very bad football team. And I do not believe that the Aggies, even on the road, should have any issues taking them down and winning that football game. So that's just kind of my take. I don't see that being a concern. I think people get so excited with how well the season is going. And, and this is what's fun about it. Be stressed about it. Be worried about it. That's what makes games fun. But I think people are so excited about this team, about the future of the season, that they're concerned about some of these games that shouldn't be problems. And if it is a problem, then it's a long-term problem. But no, I mean, if Texas A&M plays awful, they could lose this game, but they shouldn't. If they go down there and they play okay, they'll beat Mississippi State, who I think is a very, very bad football team. So that is my take there. The last question here, and this is one, it's a bit of a kind of a cop-out here because we're a few months into the season, but it was who will lead this team in receiving. And, right now I lean toward, I think Noah Thomas is going to get it done. As we sit right now, Noah Thomas is, of course, in the lead. He has 252 yards. The next closest player is Cyrus Allen at 204. I just have a feeling that Noah Thomas is going to get hot and kind of run away with this thing. And I think he's going to be the player that ends up leading the Aggies in receiving yards. So that is my take there. Those are most of the mailbag questions I have there. My next mailbag question, I'm going to rope that into our next segment here, is what is the percent chance, in my opinion, that Texas A&M makes the college football playoff? We're going to talk about that and talk about some of the numbers on the Football Power Index coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash, receive unlimited 1% deposit bonuses, and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. So the last thing we have to discuss here on this bye week at Locked On Aggies is the Football Power Index. And its metrics I kind of like to run through. So as we sit right now, Texas A&M is ranked, 12th in the FPI. Love that, because top 12 is a good thing now in college football. So Texas A&M's projected win-loss total is 9 and then 3.3. It's kind of how the numbers work. It's a little weird on this. So they believe Texas A&M is going to win 9 games, and so do I. So they give Texas A&M a 1.4% chance to win out. One thing I like to say, so you're saying there's a chance. You're saying there's a chance. Then this percentage of 6 wins is 100%, which is interesting to me because, you know, I don't, the way percentages work, shouldn't it be like 99.9? Because it's like not, there's not 100% means it's happened already. You get what I'm saying. Then, now obviously that means they'd have to lose. But you get what I'm saying. It's just it's not important. It's a math thing here. The next thing here is the percentage of to win the SEC. They give Texas A&M a 7% chance to do that. Then it's to make the playoffs. They have Texas A&M's percentage of making the playoff currently sitting at 32.5. I think that's a fair number. And I'll tell you mine in a second. I want to run through the rest of these. They then have to make the national championship game at 3% and to win at 1.2%. Once again, so you're saying there's a chance. I'll be honest with you. I think that there's a 40% chance that Texas A&M makes the playoff. And to me, they simply have to do 2 things. 1, beat LSU or Texas. Probably lean LSU there. That's 1. 2, don't shoot yourself in the foot against teams like Mississippi State, South Carolina, Auburn, and New Mexico State. Simple as that. You do those 2 things, you make the college football playoff in the first year of the expanded playoff. And so that's my point here is this is so doable for this football team. So yeah, I think there's a 40% chance the Aggies make the playoff in my opinion. I really do. I think they're going to make it. I think they beat LSU. I think they don't shoot themselves in the foot. I think they lose a close game to Texas and they go to the playoff at 10-2. That's my take on it. What happens from there, we'll have to see. But I'm really thoroughly excited to see what happens in the future here and what happens with this football team and their chances of making the playoff. That is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies and this week here at Locked On Aggies. Thank y'all so much for being here every single day. I really, really appreciate y'all. Once again, we'll have some fun stuff coming to you next Tuesday from SEC Basketball Media Day. Going to be a lot of fun there. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Enjoy your weekend, and we will see y'all on Monday to start talking about the next game right here on Locked On Aggies.